The recent Israeli airstrike on Rafah, a densely populated city in the Gaza Strip, has sent shockwaves through the international community. While Israel defended the strike as a necessary measure to target militants, the attack drew sharp criticism from several quarters, including the United States. The White House, in an unusually strong rebuke, expressed deep concern over the strike, calling for restraint and a de-escalation of violence. This public censure of a key ally underscores the gravity of the situation and highlights the potential for a significant rift in US-Israeli relations. The strike on Rafah came amidst heightened tensions along the Gaza border, following a period of relative calm. Israel claimed the attack was in response to rocket fire from Gaza, while Palestinian authorities denounced it as an act of aggression. The incident has sparked fears of a wider escalation, with the potential to draw in regional actors and further destabilize an already volatile region. The international community has urged both sides to exercise restraint and return to the negotiating table. The White House's response to the Rafah strike has been particularly noteworthy, signaling a potential shift in US policy towards the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While the Biden administration has traditionally affirmed its unwavering support for Israel's right to self-defense, the recent statement suggests a growing willingness to publicly criticize actions deemed excessive or counterproductive. This stance reflects the administration's stated commitment to human rights and its desire to play a more even-handed role in the region. The fallout from the Rafah strike is likely to have far-reaching implications for US foreign policy in the Middle East. The Biden administration now faces the delicate task of balancing its commitment to Israel's security with its broader regional interests, including its efforts to revive the Iran nuclear deal and counter Chinese influence. The incident has also exposed the limitations of US leverage over its allies, raising questions about the effectiveness of traditional diplomatic tools in resolving complex and intractable conflicts. The concept of red lines has long played a central role in international relations, serving as a signaling mechanism to deter adversaries and prevent escalation of conflict. However, the history of red lines is fraught with examples of miscalculation, misinterpretation, and unintended consequences. From the Cuban Missile Crisis to the Syrian civil war, the use of red lines has often been accompanied by uncertainty, risk, and the potential for misjudgment. One of the most well-known examples of a red line in international relations is the US declaration during the Cold War that any Soviet attempt to place nuclear missiles in Cuba would be considered an act of war. This red line, communicated directly to Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, successfully deterred further Soviet action and averted a potential nuclear confrontation. The Cuban Missile Crisis demonstrated the potential for clear and credible red lines to prevent escalation. However, red lines can also be counterproductive, particularly when they are perceived as ambiguous, unenforceable, or lacking credibility. In 2012, President Barack Obama declared that the use of chemical weapons by the Syrian regime against its own people would constitute a red line that would trigger a US military response. However, when the Syrian government subsequently used chemical weapons, the Obama administration chose not to intervene militarily, undermining US credibility and emboldening adversaries. The effectiveness of red lines depends on a number of factors, including the clarity of the message, the credibility of the threat, and the perceived resolve of the actor drawing the line. When red lines are crossed without consequence, it can embolden adversaries, undermine deterrence, and increase the likelihood of further escalation. Conversely, when red lines are drawn too hastily or without sufficient consideration of the consequences, it can limit diplomatic options and increase the risk of unintended conflict. The US-Israeli relationship has long been considered a cornerstone of US foreign policy in the Middle East. Based on shared values, strategic interests, and strong domestic political support, the alliance has endured numerous challenges over the decades. However, the recent tensions over the Rafah strike highlight the increasingly complex nature of the relationship and the potential for divergence on key issues. The Biden administration, like its predecessors, has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to Israel's security, providing significant military aid and diplomatic support. However, the administration has also signaled a willingness to engage more directly with Palestinian concerns and to adopt a more balanced approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This shift in tone and emphasis has been met with mixed reactions in both Washington and Jerusalem. The Rafah strike and its aftermath have exposed the potential for friction between the two allies, particularly on issues related to the use of force, settlements, and the peace process. The Biden administration's public criticism of the strike, while measured, suggests a growing discomfort with Israeli actions deemed to be counterproductive to the pursuit of a two-state solution. This stance has been welcomed by Palestinian leaders, but has drawn criticism from some Israeli officials and their supporters in the US. Despite the recent tensions, the US-Israeli relationship remains deeply entrenched, underpinned by strong bipartisan support in Congress and a shared strategic outlook in a volatile region. However, the Rafah incident underscores the need for both sides to manage their differences effectively and to find ways to cooperate on issues of mutual interest. The Biden administration faces the challenge of maintaining its commitment to Israel's security while also pursuing its broader regional goals, including a more stable and prosperous Middle East. The Rafah strike and its aftermath have injected a new level of uncertainty into an already volatile region. The incident has highlighted the fragility of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the potential for escalation, and the challenges facing any efforts to revive the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. The international community faces the daunting task of navigating these complexities and finding a path towards a more sustainable and peaceful future. The immediate priority is to prevent further escalation and to create the conditions for a resumption of dialogue between the parties. This will require a concerted effort by regional and international actors to de-escalate tensions, address the underlying grievances fueling the conflict, and build trust between Israelis and Palestinians. The Biden administration, with its renewed focus on diplomacy and its commitment to a two-state solution, has an important role to play in this regard. However, the path ahead is fraught with obstacles. The domestic political landscapes in both Israel and the Palestinian territories remain deeply divided, making it difficult to reach a lasting and sustainable agreement. The regional dynamics have also become more complex, with the rise of new actors, the shifting alliances, and the ongoing conflicts in Syria and Yemen. These factors will continue to shape the contours of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and influence the prospects for peace. In this uncertain environment, it is essential for all parties to exercise restraint, avoid actions that could further inflame tensions, and remain committed to dialogue and diplomacy. The international community must work together to create the conditions for a just and lasting peace, one that addresses the legitimate aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. The road ahead will be long and arduous, but the pursuit of peace remains an imperative both for the people of the region and for the stability of the wider world.